was told of two farmers who were given seeds to plant by an empowerment agency. When they received the seeds, they met a man who has been a farmer all his lives. And because they wanted to do well, they were anxious about the entire process. They decided to ask him and pick his brain to just ask for tips based on the fact that they heard that this man has been in farming all his life. The experienced farmer told them, "Don't bother going this path. You can never make it in agriculture. I have been in farming all my life and nothing good came out of it. Like I've done farming for the past 35 years." Hearing that, the two men were very, very downcast. But this was the only thing that they had. They had seeds, they were given a land already, and the assignment was for them to plant the seeds and then see to it that they grow. The first man thought to himself, why waste my time? Why waste my energy? Why give attention to something that someone has done all his life and it didn't amount to anything? Is it even really worth it? Why did this man even decide that he wants to empower us, decided to give to us was just some seeds? Why didn't he give us fruits? He should have just given us fruits that are already there. We can sell it and just make money. But because the only option they had was to plant, they decided, well, no problem, we plant. And so they left. After that meeting, they both went to their farms. The first farmer planted the seed, but even as he dug the ground, he kept hearing the words of the experienced farmer. Nothing good can come out of agriculture. You can never make it here. He planted the seed, feeling defeated already. And so, after 1 week, when he didn't see that the seed had germinated and sprung forth, he went to the farm and uprooted all the seeds that he planted, checking each one and wondering, why hasn't anything happened? He discovered that some were even rotting already, and he said, imagine. No wonder the man said nothing good can come out of this. He uprooted all the seeds and angrily went and kept them and sat down, resigning to fate and the experience of another person. The second farmer, however, got books and started researching best practices for successful farmers. He found out to make compost manure from his waste and started weeding around the crops. He gave them time and he discovered as the plant started growing that the weeds usually come without any invitation. Then he knew that he needed to weed around them consistently. By the end of that season, he had a bountiful harvest and his life never remained the same again. How does this story apply to you, my dear? In this life, people have their experiences, and their experiences is not good. Isaac sowed in that land. Imagine Isaac thinking about it and saying, "Oh, Father, you're giving me seeds. I'm telling you I want to go to Egypt." When there was a famine, my father, Abraham, went to Egypt. And he was favored there. Yes, Abimelech wanted to take my mom as his wife, but he showed him mercy. And because of that, Abimelech gave him so much more. He left Egypt a rich man. Why are you giving me seeds? Why are you telling me to plant? Imagine Isaac planting those seeds and then going after a week because he has not seen results to uproot the seeds, to check on it, to look at it, and allowing impatience to cause him to uproot a process that God has started. For some of you, God has started a process in you. You are looking over your shoulder. You are looking at that sister who came to church yesterday. Maybe even came to the organization you're working yesterday. And she's doing so well now. And you're wondering, maybe this path is not it. Maybe I should do something else. Maybe this seed is not growing. Hey, how many people have even done anything useful with this? And you are judging by another man's experience. I want to tell you this so loud and clear. The Bible said that in that famine, the only word Isaac got was, don't leave for Egypt. He didn't get the word to sow, but Isaac sowed in that land. Because he knew that harvest is only at the end of sowing. You can't reap without sowing. And so this is your season to sow. But what are you thinking about? Another man's harvest? Another man's experience? Another man's story? Another shiny object? For some of you, you started building in a particular line that God desires for you to be in. But because you've not started seeing harvest, you've not started seeing a return, you're almost digging out your seeds. I wish I can look at you right now, just as I'm looking at you, and tell you that Isaac sowed in that land. That was the only word. He sowed in that land in faith. He sowed in that land in hope. He sowed in that land in obedience. He sowed in that land knowing that this is what God has said. Do not go to Egypt. Do not walk with your father's experience. Do not walk with another person's experience. Yes, you may have worked for him, but you're not him. Your destinies are miles apart. He knows you by name. He understands what you will do that will bring the harvest you desire. Stay with him. And Isaac sowed in that land. What is my advice to you today? My dear friend, stop jumping to the next shining project or object. Stop uprooting the seeds you have already sowed. Stop looking over your shoulder to what someone else is doing. The Bible enjoins us that we should be like those who, through faith and patience, obtain the promise. Yes, you have faith, but it's not going to happen tomorrow morning. Faith and patience. Remember, there is a time for everything. And if this time is a time for your sowing, I hope you don't uproot your seeds. I hope you give it time. I hope you study to understand what you need to do. The second farmer did things differently. He kept weeding around his crops. Because trust me, distractions like weeds will always come uninvited. In fact, discouragement would always come uninvited. Everyone faces that season where there are seeds sown and yet there are weeds coming without invitation. I hope you will understand when you see the weeds that this is a weed. I hope you will have the discernment to know that this is a weed. And I hope you have the courage to uproot the weeds when you do find them. Remember, you don't have to compare your life to someone else's story and experience because God can make all things beautiful in their time. God can make all things work together for your good. So, laugh in the in-betweens. Laugh when you don't have control. After sowing the seeds, you have no control over the harvest. Laugh in the in-betweens. Trust the control to the greatest controller of all time. Trust the process, people will say. But I'll say trust God. Who can change the process if it is not working to favor you? Trust God. Because everything can be perfect under God. Everything may not be perfect or under your control, but you already know how the story will end. All things work together for good to those that love the Lord. How this blessed you. If it did, share it with someone else. See you on the next one.